and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is the supernatural. In other words, things that sort of defy our conventional expectation. But before we get started, let's just take a minute to get settled in and present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it, and just feel the vitality of pure oxygen coursing into your lungs, through your bloodstream, into all your cells, into your organs, and enlivening your body. And exhale any tension in your neck or your shoulders, your back, your hips. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose. And this time, imagine sparkling white light just enlivening every molecule of your being and sparkling and twinkling through you and beyond into the universe, connecting you with the world. And now let's just gently press our palms together. Softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the delicious tickling in your fingers and your palms and the delightful sensation, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now. Good morning and good day for you, and to those in another time zone. Welcome, welcome, and welcome, Freddie. So glad to have you here with us this morning. So, I'm just excited to talk about the supernatural or occurrences that are not explainable through our conventional perceptions. And lots of the folks here on Enlightened World have other than conventional perceptions. So, it's probably a lot of this is going to be speaking to your experience, but for a lot of other folks, this is a more rare type of occurrence. So, this conversation was prompted by something that happened for me yesterday, and I just have to share it because it was so cool. So, my dad passed a couple years ago, and he was a character. He was an icon for so many people, and through he was a veterinarian. He considered himself a pragmatist and a scientist, and I've spoken about him before. And the interesting thing, one of many interesting things about my dad, is that he had a lot of psychic experiences, which he denied pretty thoroughly. Like, he really did not. Good morning, Dido. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. We're talking about supernatural experiences, and I'm talking about my dad. So he had a lot of really interesting experiences that he shared with me, but he told me he would deny it if I tried to share it with anybody else. So he saw ghosts, the ghosts in Haiti. He saw the ghosts of slaves running on the beach, and he had a friend that came and visited our our house during a dinner party, and actually was seen by another one of the guests that evening. And he had an uncle who would come and visit when he went fishing, and he would just show up in the boat and they would chat, and then I guess he would disappear. And my dad was somebody who really was denying this whole part of himself. He also had some heavy duty precognitive dreams once we were in Israel as a kid, and he had a dream that we were going to go visit Masada, and the tourist bus that we were supposed to be on, he had a dream that the bus got blown up, so we didn't go. And there was an incident the day that we would have been going to Masada where I don't know if the bus was blown up. I don't know what the situation was, but it could have endangered our lives. So that's a little bit of background on him. and his capabilities. And I've always been fascinated by the world of the unseen. And he used to make horrible fun of me all the time, like relentlessly, and called me woo woo, and really did put down my fascination and my belief in things other than what's seen. I've spoken about how he responded to my demonstration for him of muscle testing, even though it was his own experience. He denied it because it didn't fit into his worldview. Anyway, um, we talked about him communicating when he was on the other side, so to speak. Thank you, Eric Strauss. Welcome, welcome. Happy belated birthday to me. Thank you. I'm talking about my dad. So, what a perfect day for you to be tuning into this. So, yesterday was my dad's birthday, August 20th. And I miss him. I miss him. As challenging as our relationship could be, I loved him dearly, and I still do, and I miss him. Anyway, whew, lots of emotion coming up. So I haven't really had a chance to process this. So Eric, you'll find this really pretty interesting, I think. So yesterday, last night, early evening, I was looking at my calendar for a moment, and I noticed I the notification for my dad's birthday. And of course, it was there all day, but it just took my attention in this moment last night. And immediately after I saw that notification, the phone rang, my cell phone rang, and it was a number I didn't recognize. It was another Philadelphia number. I live in Philly. And usually I do not pick up these phone calls from, because they're typically from people soliciting some kind of business or whatever. Anyway, for whatever reason, I picked up the call, and the guy on the other side says, "Hi." And I said, "Hello?" He said, "It's me." I said, "Who's me?" And he said, "It's Dad." And I just was taken aback, and I said, and then he said, "Is this Sarah?" And I said, "No, I think you have the wrong number." And he hung up. But it was such a moment to, I mean, clearly, I had just looked at my dad's birthday notification. The phone rang. I took out the phone call that I wouldn't take, and this person on the other end of the phone says, "Hi, it's Dad." So I'm still just, it cracks me up because he was such an ardent non-believer despite his circumstances. Eric says that my dad was a big part of his life growing up. Yeah, I know. Eric and I knew each other from before we were born because our families were friends and we kind of grew up together. So yeah, he was a big part of your life, and I'm celebrating him, and we get to do that together too. Anyway, I love these kinds of experiences, and I had my nephew was visiting yesterday, and I told him about this event. He showed up after it happened, and he he was like, "Why hasn't he contacted me? I miss him." And I told him about it. I said, "This is so weird." He said, "For anybody else, it would be weird. For you, not so much," because these kinds of things happen with some regularity for me, not probably not as much regularity as it happens for a lot of other folks that are on the Enlightened World Network, but these kinds of other worldly sorts of experiences happen. And I wanted to just talk about these experiences together and hopefully encourage you to share some of these wild things that have happened for you. I love these stories, and they kind of give me an extra jazz to life because of the mystery of it. And I am so intrigued by what is actually going on and how it might be explainable. So if you're hanging in here with me this morning, I would love it if you'd share any kinds of wild experiences. Love you too, Eric. I'm glad you stopped in. Have a great day, and it was awesome to have you here to celebrate my dad today. So what other kinds of experiences have you had kind of on this topic where you've had bizarro sorts of coincidences or unfoldings of life events or weird patterns that sort of, hey, Marianne, yay! So glad to have you back here today. It really cool story, right? Thank you. And I'll bet you have some stories to share yourself. I'd love to have you share that with us and be part of the conversation and be awesome. Another story like this that I have is from when I was in college, and I was living in a house with a bunch of other people, and I lived in the attic of this. I had the attic floor, and there was a doorway and then stairs to come up to the attic, obviously, and uh, I had some windows there, and it was a really nice space. But one day in the summer, I was up in the attic and I was looking through a book that my grandfather had given me, my mom's dad. And I think it was called, it was a Time Life book, and it might have been called The Story of Man or something like that. But anyway, I was looking through this book. The windows are closed. I'm by myself. And all of a sudden, this this aroma, this fragrance wafts through the air in the attic. And they say that smell is the most, or olfactory memory is the strongest memory. Well, this is a smell that was unique to my grandfather. It was his cologne. I have no idea what cologne it was. I couldn't describe the smell to you now. If you paid me, if I smelled it again, I'm sure I would associate it with him. But that is the only time I've ever smelled that smell, was in relation to him. And then it showed up in my attic room while I was looking through this book that he had given me. And it was undeniable. And I recognized it as him, and I said hi, and I said thank you. And then the fragrance just sort of dissipated. So that was another really wild, interesting experience that left quite an impact, obviously, because I remember it so many years later. And how about you? Anybody that's listening, do you have ghost stories to share or other stories of sort of supernatural experiences that have helped to shape you? Maybe messages or something. I actually had a dream when I was in college also that really, really shaped my life. And I will leave that as a teaser, and because I'm going to read what Dido says. Dido says, I've had a precog experience where I was cycling to work and got a scene that flashed in which a car suddenly sped across my path from a side street. Instead of ignoring it, I got off the road and got on the sidewalk far away. Then guess what? The very same car did exactly that and would have killed me if I hadn't moved far out of the way. Oh my gosh, Dido, that's amazing. That is awesome. And I hope that one of what you've taken from that is that you're clearly here for a purpose. That's really, really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Clout9 says, good morning. Great to have you here with us. Thanks for being here. And Marianne says, Marianne, I knew you had to have stories for sure. Marianne says, the night my dad died, I felt his spirit come to me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. Come to me and wrap me up in a circle of light. Ooh, that has all the emotions and everything we'd experienced together. It contained love, forgiveness, etc., like a culmination of our time together. It creates a nice closure moment. Oh my gosh, that's miraculous. What a gift. What a beautiful gift from your dad, Marianne. That's beautiful. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. It's profound. My dad, it's funny. My dad had always left the cabinet doors open. You know, like he would walk through the kitchen and it was like a whirlwind went through the kitchen. Every door to every cabinet pretty much was open. And for a little while after he passed, in my little kitchen, all the doors to my cabinets would be open every time I went in there. So, you know, I recognized that he had been pranking me and visiting me. And that lasted for probably over a month. And then maybe even more, dissipated after a while. But these stories are amazing. So I was going to tell you about a dream but I'll wait because Tammy Fisk says, my mother passed away almost 20 years ago, but 2 years in a row, my phone rang on the day she passed, showing Mama was calling. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And she says, no contact in my phone labeled Mama. And we did pick it up, but there was no one there. Well, if there was no one there you could hear, at least that's probably the case, Tammy. That's amazing. I love it, love it, love it. Share your stories. This is such fun. The magic and mystery of the world beyond our view, right? I love it. So please, anybody else with stories, share them. This is awesome. So when I was in college, I was kind of struggling to decide what direction to go, what to do, and I had I had started at art school. I dropped out of art school because I started having a restaurant. The restaurant was a disaster ultimately. So I went back to school. And when I was going back to school, I was thinking about what am I doing? You know, like, what do I want to major in? I was in art school and I had a dream. And in the dream, I was doing work in bronze. And I went I went to the instructor who taught that class. And I said, I don't want to have to be responsible for anything, but I had this dream and I want to take your class. And as it turned out, doing the work in bronze was what I was able to put together into my senior show that enabled me to graduate. And so I did bronze casting, bronze sculpture. and graduated with that, which was pretty interesting. So that came out of a dream. So, what other kinds of supernatural types experiences have you had? Seeing ghosts, communicating with loved ones who have passed, or anyone. I had a very good friend at one point whose daughter went into their dining room one day, and it scared the heck out of her. There was a guy standing there. He had a big bandage on his head. I don't know if he was bloody or what, and he was in a uniform. He had been a Confederate soldier, I think, that died in a battle near where they lived, and she freaked out. I don't know that she got to talk to him to find out what he was doing there, but pretty interesting. And let's see, there was another story I was thinking of to tell you, but I'm not remembering it at the moment. If you have other stories about these wild experiences of communications from folks from beyond the pale, or other interesting precognitive experiences you may have had, interesting dreams that have shaped you. I find it so interesting to be thinking about these kinds of occurrences and what the implications are for the nature of the universe. Like, what is the nature of the universe that this stuff can occur and actually occur with some regularity? Really, we're just a few folks today already chiming in on these remarkable experiences that you've had. So what is the shape of the universe that permits this? What's an explanation of how all of this works? And I've spoken about him before, but Nassim Haramein is a unified physicist. He's creating unified field theory uh, or the unified theory of physics, where everything is connected to everything else. And so many of us who are spiritually oriented already know this, right? But science is finally getting around to proving it. But talking about that, we live in a living information field. I'm calling it an information field. They've called it the vacuum. The vacuum's not empty. It's filled with it's full, and every movement, the reason I'm moving around here is every movement we make impacts that whole field, and every thought and every experience, every emotion is energy that is being exchanged with that field. And all dimensions of consciousness are present and represented in that field. And the question about these sorts of experiences that we've been discussing, the supernatural, science has typically just dismissed them because there wasn't any kind of explanation. But Nassim's work actually, in my belief, or my interpretation, connects the physical and the metaphysical. It really does answer how, through all time and space, there's no separation. There's just this constancy of oneness with can think of it as an ocean, and each of us being drops that sometimes are thrown into the atmosphere through the crashing of waves, and the foam emerges and droplets of water, and we have our presence and our individuated spark of consciousness while still being part of the greater whole. So that this kinds of conversation is one of my favorite kinds of conversation. I'm encouraging you, before I wrap up, to share your stories so that we can all enjoy it together. this is my favorite kind of conversation because it opens the door to the mystery. And life is such a magical, magnificent mystery. And we often get so tied up into the mundane experiences from moment to moment that we forget to see the magic. And truly, if we were able to presence ourselves to each moment, it would be certainly as magical as these supernatural types of experiences. But we typically don't presence ourselves. And the reason that these experiences are so invigorating to me, and potentially to you as well, is that they are discontinuous from our daily experience. And Marianne says, my daughter talks to dead people and dogs regularly. You know what, Marianne? I don't doubt that for a second. I'm wondering if you would be willing to share one of your favorite stories that she's told you. Uh, Actually, years ago, I went to a training at the Monroe Institute. You might want to check out the Monroe Institute. They actually have a program for helping people who have died, who have lost their way, who really, what I mean by lost their way is that that they don't even realize they're dead. So they're kind of in limbo. So they have a rescue program for folks that are in limbo land. And the Monroe Institute is all about transiting in other dimensions of consciousness. And there are lots of really interesting stories from them as well. Marianne says we had a dog die recently that she channeled. What did the dog say, Marianne? I'm so curious. So Marianne is a dear friend who raises service dogs, and these really remarkable service dogs that she breeds very carefully, and then trains in a very special way to be probably the best service dogs on the planet. Marianne, I'm giving you a shameless plug here. Um, if you want, what did you just post? Oh, the Monroe Institute. Dido, you are the best. Dido always keeps track of these references I make and posts links in case you want to check them out. So she just posted a link for the Monroe Institute if you want to check out what's available there. It's really quite remarkable work they've been doing for years and years before it was okay to talk about talking to dead people. Now it's like, oh, okay, I talk to dead people too. That's cool. But back when the Monroe Institute was founded, it was really cutting edge, and it still is. They created the binaural beat, in fact, which assists in brain entrainment, brain wave entrainment. So Marianne says that she mostly talks to people we know. My favorite was her telling my mom stuff about her mom. And she had some great messages. That's really cool. Really cool, Marianne. So she's pretty psychic. She's a pretty intense channel. Marianne, if you're raising dogs still and you want people to know how to contact you, please feel free to post that, because your dogs are such a gift to people. What the love that you pour into them and the training that you give them. Marianne says, thank you. The dog just wanted us to know she was around, which you already knew, and that she was watching over us still. Okay. And Marianne is no longer raising dogs for service animals. Well, I am quite certain that you have impacted so many people's lives so deeply with the animals that you bred and trained and loved so dearly. So much gratitude for you for that. to you for that. And Dido says, it says about the Monroe Institute, it says, journey into the afterlife realm to assist others in this life and beyond, to deepen your understanding of life, death, and self. If you have an opportunity to do the programs that are offered by the Monroe Institute, I don't even know if they're still offering them. I'm presuming they are, but it was phenomenal. It was really a wonderful, eye-opening, consciousness expanding experience. So anyway, anybody have any more stories before we wrap up for the morning? This was such fun, and I so appreciate your playing here with me. This is one of my favorite playgrounds. I love this stuff. I'm just thinking about other experiences that I might be able to share with you. Nothing that I'm thinking of at the moment. So unless you have anything else to add, I'm gonna wrap up. It's Friday, and this is the Core Connection. I'm here every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we go live on my page and in YouTube and Periscope and LinkedIn, and not most importantly, the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. So all those other places are Enlightened World places, Enlightened World Network. And there's awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, a community of people who are very connected to this non-visible realm, either spiritually, emotionally, or actually also talking to people who have passed, talking to angels, talking to or communicating from other than conscious awareness. So I welcome you to have fun and play in our playground together, and have an amazing weekend. This has been such fun again with you. Lots and lots of love, deep compassion, and wishing you a wonderful, wonderful weekend.